I'll kind of share a little bit about everyone that's on this call. Andrew and Bryan both work together. Andrew is a very successful agency owner that I met in Boston, and really, really cool experience. We met each other at a mastermind, and there's certain people in life that within like the first 30 seconds, you're like, dude, we are on the same wavelength. Like I can speak fast to you. I can share cool things and you're going to understand it. And like a lot of the stuff that he was sharing about AgencyZoom, I was like, wow, that's really cool how you're doing it. You're pushing, the technology. It was a great thing. And we connected there about virtual assistants. And he's kind of got a really awesome combo utilizing agency VA, his VA Bryan, who we'll meet here in a second, and then AgencyZoom as a software. And so in this, he's going to kind of illustrate, some of the workflows and show what's going on. So Andrew, I always like to ask this question. What was your opinion when we first met?
To be honest with you, it's kind of funny. So we had never really gone down the VA route at all before. Talked to a couple people who had been using them, but just we hadn't gotten there yet. But then once I sat down with you, especially that last day when I sat with you for like 2 hours talking about this stuff, I was like, all right, that's going to make our salespeople's life so much easier, because there's a lot of automation capabilities that we can do, but having someone like Bryan, who's brought a lot to our team, like it's been great. So it was an eye-opening experience because, like I said, I was kind of stuck with technology, and we were missing that human element to help some of these processes work better. So super pumped that this has all worked out.
Well, and it's interesting you say that human element. The goal of Agency VA is we leverage our technology, VA vision, but we're also super big on the humanization. And that goes to you, Bryan. You are that human we are talking about. Bryan, how has your experience been so far, like learning AgencyZoom, getting set up inside Andrew's agency? How's that gone for you?
It's been wonderful, actually. It's been pretty friendly environments as well. It's like no stranger danger or anything. You go in there and everything's so friendly. Mary Lou in particular, she's always on top of me, like, hey, something for today, something for tomorrow. What do we got? We're doing. That's all the time. We're always working on it. And yeah, AgencyZoom, at first you seem like, wow, this seems like a lot, but it's actually pretty. No, I wouldn't say simple, but it's pretty easy to use.
How much, Andrew, do you and Bryan communicate? Like, do you talk to him once a month, once a week? How does it go?
For a while, I was talking to Bryan like 3 times a day, every day at least. But now that he's set up and running, I check in. I probably try to check in. Been on vacation for a week, but I usually try to check in every other day or so. And Bryan, he knows Mary Lou. He would have touched Mary Lou probably every day. And then
every day it's like every morning it's like, hey, good morning, what do we got? Working out straight out all the work. Sometimes with Megan if Mary Lou's not in the office, but there's usually that connection between everyone. I'm usually talking a little bit more with Kyle too, the salesperson.
So we have a good team here that's pretty close knit. So adding Bryan to that team was actually really easy. And Bryan was, by the way, he lied about something, because in the beginning it was not very easy because of us. We were jumping through, we were changing a lot with processes and things like that. So for the first week or so, he really had to bear with us as we were trying to figure out some stuff on our end. So
how was that for you, Bryan? On the other end as being, the virtual assistant, how was that for you?
It was weird, usually coming from a different type of working environment where the work is always there. And then it's like, wait, there's something wrong. Why is there not much work? And then it's like, boom, work. We're like, okay.
Yeah, that's the thing right here. Is like I always tease, like when you're ripping through quotes and you're sending out the certs and people start griping and whining. I'm like, that's job security, dude. Like the fact that we have all that work, that's job security for all of us. Like we got to keep ripping through that stuff. Andrew, what were what was the first task that you had on your checklist of items that you wanted your virtual assistant to take care of? What was the first one that you wanted to do?
So I actually had a really good, after talking to you, and then I talked a lot with Matt Namoli, who obviously uses VAs very well. So I had a really good idea of the first thing that I wanted to take off of our sales people's hands. And that's like basically everything from the minute they get a yes until the policy gets issued. So I took a little bit from some other people who had processes in place, and basically got with AgencyZoom as they rolled out this service pipeline, which is a newer feature for them. And we were able to kind of like build a very step-by-step process. So not that Bryan can't think for himself at all, I'm not saying that, but it's very like, it's a process, it's step-by-step, like, hey, this needs to happen, this needs to happen, this needs to happen. And it's nice for Bryan because he knows what's coming next. It's nice for us as managers because we can glance in there and see exactly where something is, if something's getting stuck somewhere. And for the salespeople as well, like if they get a call from their client saying like, hey, the bank needs this, we can be like, oh, look, Bryan already sent that over 2 days ago. What's the bank talking about? You know what I mean? So having that all in one pipeline is great.
Before we jump in AgencyZoom, I like to play devil's advocate on these kind of things. At Agency VA, a lot of agency, I bet if we counted the word agency in this, it's going to be there like 100 times. At Agency VA, we have to remain agnostic with technology. The reason being is our VAs use all sorts of technologies. In the space of AgencyZoom, you've got Better Agency, you've got Insured Mind, you've got obviously AgencyZoom. Some of the others I'm probably missing here. I don't know if Neon would be thrown in there, but there's all sorts of different ways to get those CRMs and those automations. Mm-hmm. I know something about Andrew. He's fiercely thorough. Andrew, what led you to AgencyZoom? Why did you choose them?
So we actually took a little bit of a different route. We were with like the big CRMs first. We were on Salesforce. Frankly, I was either not smart enough or just didn't have enough time to like make Salesforce work how I needed to work. We switched to HubSpot. I was a big HubSpot fan, still am a big HubSpot fan, but some of the language just didn't mesh well with our processes. Like, so our salespeople were used to insurance terminology for sales. And obviously all these other CRMs are built for normal sales organizations. So just kind of translating that was a little bit difficult. So I ended up switching to AgencyZoom. I tested out a bunch of the other ones, and nothing to say bad about the other ones really, but AgencyZoom there was so much flexibility. The fact that they had background in the insurance industry, so they kind of knew what our pain points are. And I really liked how they integrated with what we needed to integrate to, like Tarmica, my management system, AMS 360, like those integrations mean a lot. And a lot of the other products out there just don't have that deep of integration, if any, with those things. So.
Okay, Bryan, what we're going to do now is have you share your screen, and Andrew's going to kind of walk through the workflow that you guys have discussed.
Okay, yeah, definitely. Let me go ahead, share my screen.
So basically, just at a high 10,000 foot view. So this is what Bryan's responsible for. His core responsibility is, like we said, the minute our salespeople get a yes, to walk them through all the way until the policy is downloaded into our management system. So we have 5 separate columns here. The first stage is the EPI stage. Bryan, do you want to show them the tasks that are under that? So there's a little checklist right here. So this is what we were talking about, how easy AgencyZoom kind of makes this for Bryan and all of us. So basically, as Bryan's working, it kind of gives him a step-by-step process of, hey, what am I supposed to do next? So the first stage, he's updating our management system, changing it from a lead to a customer. We have a template that's built in here. He's contacting the loan officer, getting the mortgagee clause and loan number, completing that API, getting it out to the loan officer, CCing the salesperson. And if there's any changes, he's going onto the carrier site, updating the date if the date of the sale is changing, updating the mortgagee information, that kind of thing. All right, Brett, you're going to go to touching base. This stage is super easy. He's creating a check-in with a client. So he actually is checking 2. There's a typo actually on this one, but he's doing one for himself. So he checks in directly with the bank. So we check in with the loan officer to make sure they're still on track. Then he creates another reminder for the salesperson to check in with the client 4 days prior to closing, just to see if they need anything. Basically, on these sales, there's a long lag between the time we sold it to the deposit gets issued. It can be up to 2 months, So we just kind of want to have one more call, just kind of check in, make sure everything's still on
Are these checklist items here, are they automated such that like this one is a mortgage automation, or is there manual input by Bryan to get these in place?
Yeah, so these are all anything that's in this one is mortgage built. So every single one of these, whenever he moves it to one of these stages, they automatically are created in every stage. So what we're showing you right now, I asked Bryan to basically create this John Doe guy in every single one, but as he moves it down the column, it creates that next task. So it automatically, the minute he's done the EPI stage and moves to touching base, these next two tasks come up. You know what I mean?
Bryan, how is that for you? Does that make it pretty simple for you, or you catch yourself like having to go back in the steps?
I mean, definitely it makes it a lot easier once you have the list there. You just check them and then it's like automatically goes in and like, oh, here we go. So this is my next step. So I have to just make sure the reminders are there. So when the date comes in, I can notify the bank just so we can have that all on time.
And then we also built this. So, and Bryan actually helped us a little bit with this, but we built these templates. So a lot of these communications, it's the same type of communication over and over and over again. So we have these set templates, especially to the banks, because everyone's dealt with these mortgage companies, you know how it goes, but like trying to get the core information to them that they need and from them that we need. We try to be as concise as possible. So we have templates built that he basically is changing very minor information with the things like home address and client name are automatically populating in there. That's what AgencyZoom does for us. The minor information Bryan needs to update. And he sends them out, and you can probably get them out within like, I mean, I'm assuming like 30 seconds, right? With that templates, right?
Yeah, it's like really quick. You just go in, select the template. Let's say we want to send the EPI with an invoice or a receipt. Pretty much all the information is there. All you have to do is just attach the EPI with the invoice. And just change the name for the name of the loan officer or the bank, send it away.
Bryan, if I was a person on the other end of this, when I receive the email, am I going to be getting, is it going to show Bryan, or does it show like the service team, or what does it show on the signature of that email?
It shows my name and the Expedience group.
Yeah. So, and then it shows what we have. So I have Bryan's actually email address is onboarding@expedience.com. And we chose to do that specifically because as we scale and we need another Bryan, you know what I mean? I didn't want to tie Bryan to always doing this one thing. You know what I mean? So this way we can swap this email address if we have to in the future. We did the same thing with, we haven't even talked about this, but the telemarketer that we're using through you guys. We have an email for her that's sales at Expedience, you know, so we're able to, if you guys need to drag one of these people away from us, we're able to slot someone in fairly easily. And then also at the same time, we're to scale easier so we can move people around.
You have the systems and process already placed, utilizing, you know, AgencyZoom is kind of, that's your catalyst for all these automations.
So the issue stage, it's pretty obvious. It's actually probably one of the more time-consuming stages, though, because there's a lot of back and forth with the client to get the billing and all that stuff squared away on an auto policy if they're doing a package policy or something like that. But we're confirming the policy premium is accurate, effective date matches what the loan officer told them. They're issuing all the policies and then creating follow-ups. And the cool thing about these follow-ups is they actually go over to our management system as well. You know, so all this stuff is step-by-step, like you can see all this communication that Bryan's doing in our management system as well.
And let me ask you this question, Andrew and Bryan, is all this stuff already built out inside AgencyZoom, or is this all custom that you did?
So this one is custom. If you see in the top left of this thing by where it says onboarding, this is actually a beta product at the moment. It's not fully live yet. They're working in, like, to be honest with you, Wes, like, especially if you guys have a bunch of clients on AgencyZoom, it might be something that's even worth exploring, kind of like building out your own pipeline that you can kind of supply to people, you know. This is completely custom, and it was a pain for me to do because I have a commercial background. I don't know a thing about personal lines, to be honest with you. So this took me way longer than it should to get to where it is now. But once you do it, like, I had to recreate this, and it took me like 10 minutes to recreate once I did it once, you know. So it is custom, but as long as you have your processes down, you should be good. And like I said, we never used a VA before, and Fortunately for us, Brian's been a very quick learner, but the way that we, and Wes, you know this, but the way that we train when someone's sitting in front of you and can just like watch you all day is completely different than like how we need to train Brian. So that was a new experience for us, and having AgencyZoom be able to do these individual check boxes and all these little tools like that. And Wes, I showed you you talked about the video thing. We actually took that a step farther. And so we have the long video that we recorded with Brian, but then what we did was we broke up each one of these little steps has sub videos. So that way Brian doesn't need to sit there and go through an hour video to find the one task he forgot how to do, or like the one carrier he's never in, you know what I mean? So like if he's never in Allstate, for example, you can watch the Allstate video about how he issues it, you know? So we try to do a good job of creating those things. Obviously those need to be updated. Oh, look, there's Mary Lou checking
Yeah.
Hey, Brian, quick question for you. How often do you review those videos? Is it like one and done? Do you go back to them? How often do you look at them?
Usually I go back to the MetLife one because MetLife it's its own. It's its own.
All right, I think we got one more.
The next one would be the
Yeah,
down on billing and the application support.
Yeah, so the down on billing, that's really simple. We're just making sure that the policy download to our AMS, double checking that it matches the quote that we had, and then processing this payment when it comes from the title company or directly from the client, either way. So, but yeah, so that's a process that Brian's been working on. I like Brian because he does let me know when he's sitting around and doesn't have anything to do. So that's when I get my salespeople and tell them they need to sell them more. So Brian has some work to do.
Brian, you should take that. You should be on the inside of teams, cracking the whip and being like, dudes, give me some more job security. No, get me rocking and rolling. Well, that's a great process. I like those checklists. Brian, have you ever, I'm not sure with you, I didn't do enough research, and I didn't ask you when I was in Puerto Rico. Have you worked on other agency systems beside AgencyZoom?
No, not at all.
AgencyZoom is the only one. When you start trying other ones, I would be really curious how the comparison works, what your thoughts are, because again, me and Andrew can come up with all the thoughts in the world, but there's so much value to listening to the individual that is in there all day, doing it all day. And Brian, sure appreciate you.
Brian's seriously been great. Like he does give that feedback, honestly. Like something broke the other day and he told me about it, and I would have literally never known if he hadn't told me. You know what I mean? So
yeah.
Little things like that are great because like I'm not in here ever, like I trust Brian enough that I honestly don't even, like, Mary Wu checks in once in a while, but I don't even check to make sure he's doing it right because I know he is, so it's great to have that